flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session in order to talk about potential litigation.
Second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move in there just in case. An executive session in which no action was taken.
I'd like to make a motion to resume the normal order of business.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. All right, let's resume our normal order of business. So we'll wait 1 minute for Steve. Papers here. While we're waiting, I think we can proceed with some things. For example, approving the minutes from our December 18th meeting. Everybody was sent those minutes by the town clerk. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? Second, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes for December 18th? Say
Aye.
Aye? Aye. Okay, the minutes have been approved. I'm going to go start the supervisor's report so we don't hold people up
Here he is.
anymore. Here it is, okay. So, I just want to give the town board, because there are new town board members here, a few things. For example, you guys have this in your package. This is our cash flow statement. And this cash flow statement is literally that. Every month we show what comes in and what goes out. And this one for the year. Now this is on an accrual basis. Well, no, actually this one is not, but our bill paying is. So we're at 99% of our goal for the year for income. So we missed it by 1%.
Very
And
good.
but our cash out is at 89% of our budget. So we did a good job of trying to save money wherever we could. Now, these numbers aren't final yet because we haven't completed our year. We still have bills that are coming in from 2019. We allocate them to 19, and then we'll close the books on 19 sometime.
So is that salt bill coming out of
19?
19? So that's going to
Yeah.
have an impact.
Yeah, so the salt bill and other things, some of which are in here already, but not all of them. The ones you just signed tonight, you mean? Mm-hmm. Those are not in, you're right.
Okay.
They haven't been put in yet. Everything that was signed tonight, as far as vouchers, haven't been put in yet. I will give you a report on the final report of the year when we close it out, all right? But this is something we do every single month, so you can see what comes in and what goes out. As board members, you also get, and this I wanted to show it to you this time because you can just save it in a file, or you can print it out and put it in your notebooks. But these are the things you'll get every month, and I am going to email you these. But one is the building department report, which is this one. So it's according to municipal law that the building department has to submit a monthly report to us. It shows you what people applied for and the monies collected. So you'll get that. In addition to that, you will get a deposit list that shows you all the deposits we made, and there's 2 pages for the general fund here, and there's 1 page for the highway fund. So the highway superintendent will get the same information. I'm going to email you, Superintendent Katie. I'm going to email you the same numbers that the council members are getting. So you will see what came into the highway fund every month and what was paid out. Okay, what came in are the deposits that you see, because I don't want, we don't want to waste all this paper, but you guys need the information. So you'll see all the deposits, and in addition, you'll see these abstracts. This list of this is a list of all the bills that were paid this month. So we have one for highway, and we have one. The longer one is for the general fund. So you will see all the bills that were paid out, and you will see to whom. And then, of course, we have tons of backup. You can ask us about anything. The 3 highlighted numbers there, which we think is only partial because these just came in December. I have to go back and get the rest of them. Or for the highlighted on this page, or for the Article 78 that we had to respond to, filed by the town of Beekman. So those are legal fees associated with that. I'm going to total those up for us. There's an escrow report that you'll get every single month to show what's been applied into escrow and what's going on there, what's still open, what's closed, that sort of thing. And then lastly, you have this report. This is a year-end report to show performance versus budget. And this report is for townwide, and this is an important report because, again, it's not complete because not everything's in here, but basically it shows us what's performing and maybe what's not performing as far as, you have to really follow the numbers to track it because sometimes it's hard to discern, but it shows you, for example, I'm going to pick out a good example here. If you look at, on the first page, you'll look at recreation concessions. And if you look at concessions, you see the across from concessions on the first page. This just shows you numbers, and it shows that her budget was $20,000. And she brought in $16,796. So it looks like she was at 84% of her budget, and she lost $3,204. But in reality, this is what I do with all the department heads. In reality, if I look at the manager of the concession department, she brought in less because it was quieter for her, but what she did immediately as a manager was change her labor costs, which were budgeted at $17,200. She ended up spending $11,647 in labor, so she still, her total expense line shows a profit of $5,149 because she managed to that lower sales, the lower sales.
Very good.
So this only tells one of the part of the stories and kind of gives us a townwide picture, but then each department head gets something like this to see how they're performing versus their budget so they can kind of track. So even though it might show, oh boy, this person's down on revenue, well, when they cut their expenses, they did a good job for the town. So that's the kind of reporting we do, and we produce these reports every month. Okay? More numbers than anybody would ever want. All right. In addition to that, I have just one little note of correspondence that I wanted to share based on last month's meeting. And these 4 beautiful pieces of art that we have over there where we thanked Mr. and Mrs. Baird. I got a nice note from Alice and Don Baird on January the 2nd. Dear Town Supervisor Moss, we greatly appreciate receiving a copy of the resolution formally accepting our donated art by the town board. Timemore Park has been a very special place for us over the last 32 years. We have taken many walks around the lake and have enjoyed the natural beauty of the area in every season. I could not think of a better spot for the artwork than the town hall in the middle of this very beautiful property. Thank you again. Best wishes for a healthy, happy new year. Alice and Don Baird. So that was a lovely note in recognition of what they gave to us that we thanked them for. In addition, I had a couple things to go over, and one is that pursuant to municipal law, town law, the town supervisor has to distribute a copy of the Code of Ethics annually. It went out today with all the paychecks for all the staff, and it will go to all the officers, people that are holding board positions and committee and council committee. It will go out to them as well. I went to a Dutchess County meeting with all the other Dutchess County supervisors and mayors, and one thing, they covered everything that was going on in the county, but there's one thing, I talked to our superintendent of highways, Ed Kading, about this on the way back from this meeting. They have you and I were chatting, you already knew all about it, but one of the things that's become apparent that, I don't know if you all are familiar with the school bus law, but I want to make sure our residents know that the state passed a school bus law, and the school bus law says that they're going to have cameras on the side of school buses so that if anybody passes a school bus, I believe it's when they're stopped and letting kids out, but if anybody passes it, they're going to take photos and they're going to send that person a bill in the mail and a ticket. Now, it turns out that the counties are going to be responsible for monitoring and implementing this because the counties are multi-jurisdictional. A town couldn't do it, for example. It will be a $250 ticket to anybody who's photographed passing a school bus. And that money, even though the ticket, if they do it in Unionville, will come to our court, the town will get $25, their normal standard $25 fee, and the rest of the money goes to the state.
County gets nothing.
I don't think the county gets anything, and it sounded maybe a little bit, but probably maybe as much as we get, but the general consensus was, while this is really probably a great safety idea, it sounded more like a state money maker, because all the money's going straight up there. But the reason I'm mentioning it is that I wasn't aware of it. Ed Kading knew about it, he was familiar with it, but the residents need to know it's a $250 hit, so they've got to be careful. The last thing is the DEC is coming to, the land that we own up on Pleasant Ridge?
Yes.
They're going to come and they're going to track the New England cottontails. Just important that everybody know that during certain seasons, they need to track the New England cottontail rabbits. They like to count how many we have, and that's a perfect place. And since Aki Bush is here, the head of our CAC, you should know, isn't that fascinating that they're going to be here? So if you drive by and you see somebody poking around looking for
They've done it in
rabbits.
the park in the past.
Yeah, and they sent a nice letter that they want to come, so just to let everybody know. I think that's enough from me. We have plenty of other people to hear from tonight, so at this point, I'm going to ask if Councilman Welsh has a report or anything that you'd like to say.
I would just like to mention I was spending a lot of time working on preparing for a new contract negotiation coming up very soon that I'm involved with, so I don't want to elaborate, but that's what I've been focused on.
That's great, and a lot of other things. Councilman Derlin?
Well, being that I'm new, I guess I'll mention that I've been going to a couple seminars with you, in fact, just learning about various board roles and responsibilities. And also being that I'm new, if I haven't met you, you can always call Andrea, and she'll put you in touch with me.
Yeah, and your number's on the website.
Number's on the website,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, and my email.
And you know, which
Or
is
you can
great.
call Andrea.
You can call Andrea.
Just what she wants.
All right, yeah, you went to the Association of Towns training for newly electeds, and those were some good meetings, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yesterday?
Yeah, very
That's great.
important.
All right, Councilman Frazier?
Just that we're all preparing for our own training down in the City Association of Towns. It's upcoming, the discussions will be with the contracts.
Yes, and you're bringing up a good subject. Andrea, don't we want to remind everybody that we have to get those those reservations in by the 24th, so we,
in order to get in on the early bird special.
yeah, to get the discount.
So we got
that's coming
barely
up
over a week.
next week, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Councilman Gibney, anything you want to talk about?
Don't really have anything. I'm new on the board here, so I'm just kind of learning the ropes. Excited to get going and get a lot of positive things done here in Unionville.
Yeah, that's great. All right, terrific, I appreciate that. Now, next up is our town highway superintendent. Do you have a report that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I've only been doing it for 2.5 weeks, so we've had several call-ins, concerns. We've tried to address all of them. Some of them were really not pertaining to us. There's just an example. There was an email. There was a tree on a guy's lawn and a hanging tree. I sent a crew up to look at it. They determined it wasn't ours. I went up myself and looked at it. It's definitely not ours.
So that means it's not in the right-of-way, right?
It is well out of the right-of-way.
Okay.
I talked to George. He's going to look at it just to confirm, because I'm new at this as well.
Okay.
So there was that. There was someone that thought we should be picking up the trash along the road. I sent a couple guys up. We looked at it. They picked up a few small pieces that were on the side of the road. There was a complaint about brush overgrown on a fence. I sent a crew up to take care of that, which the long and the short of that particular incident, and I explained to the complainant that the brush was intertangled in the fence on her neighbor's property, and the complaint was that the brush was so overgrown that she couldn't see the view anymore. But with the fence entangled in the brush, I explained to her that if we got too close and the brush got tangled up in our machine and brought the wiring and the horses got out,
Oh, good.
who would be liable for that? Would it be myself, my crew, the town, or everybody? So I think that appeased her, I'm hoping.
But she also said you did a great job up there cleaning some other
That
stuff.
came later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did attempt to do some brush cutting, and we did. But I'm fielding some complaints and trying to appease everybody, which I'm finding is a challenge.
I'm sure, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
another note, there was 2 of the old plow trucks They haven't moved off the highway department property in several years. One runs, but the cab and frame are totally shot, they're unsafe. The other one doesn't run. It's not worth, in my opinion, putting any more money into it. I believe it's a 1986 truck. They both were legally plated, not inspected, and insured.
Oh, boy.
So we pulled the plates, turned the plates in.
Great.
We also found a trailer that was grown up in the weeds, same type of scenario, plated and insured. We pulled that out of the weeds. There's also a few small items. We'd like to have absolute auction, get rid of those things. So they're coming out tomorrow to put them on their auction site.
We have to first declare them surplus.
Right.
Well, how do we do that?
Tell us what they are, and we'll declare them surplus, and then they can be auctioned.
Right. Just submit a list to us, and then we'll authorize them to be sold.
Okay? And,
Well, he's coming tomorrow.
yeah, but he doesn't
He's
need...
coming to look,
He
right?
can
He can
take
do-
pictures and be
Yeah.
prepared,
He's
and
gonna
when you
give you
guys
some
sign
information.
off,
Then
they're
they can
gone.
post it, yeah.
Right. But in the interim, they're off the road now.
Great.
We're not paying insurance on those
Good work,
vehicles.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion that pending his list, we approve that by
Email?
consensus.
By consensus, I second that.
But otherwise, we're going to have to wait another, it might be 3 weeks this time around for me
Right.
to do that.
Well, we'd have to notice the work session to take some action, and we
Right.
don't usually take
Right.
action, so.
So
But
then
I would
they
second
wouldn't
that
get-
motion, and I would ask, so the motion on the table is that we declare surplus whatever's on the list that the superintendent's going to turn in, and allow him to proceed right away. All in favor?
Pending board review.
Yeah, we'll circle you later. Pending board review, good point.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, motion carries, that's a good savings.
And
Thank
the
you,
other
Steve.
thing that we've done at the highway garage recently, we have contracted a scrap guy to come in. He's set a box off, a dumpster, all the scrap steel that's generated, instead of just kind of laying everywhere for us to have to haul to a scrapyard, it goes in that dumpster. So we're really trying to clean the place up.
Very
I got
nice.
How much
two-
of that dumpster, Scott?
The dumpster is a 20-yard dumpster. It was set off last Thursday, and it is three-quarters full today. Old culvert pipes, some old rims, that
Nothing we can use.
nothing we can use now.
Wow.
So, there's also a large accumulation of brush. Typically, that would be burned. I'm not in favor of that because a lot of the brush is more than brush. It's stumps and logs, and DEC really frowns on that. So
Yeah.
I've got two prices for grinding it and turning it into compostable material for town use and residents'
Great.
use. But I would like to, if we could refrain from having the residents dump brush there.
That's completely up to you. Feel free to put up a sign or a fence or
It's
whatever you
just-
want to do.
It just, because it seems to,
Right.
they don't seem to get that the pile's over there
Yeah.
and not over there.
And how do you know who's even dumping?
We don't even know.
Right,
We had a
so-
truck come in today,
Could
a
be
chip
commercial-
truck come in,
Yeah,
and he wanted to dump chips there. He said he had permission, and I sent him to a different direction.
good for you. Yeah, it's not a landfill or a dump
That's all
site.
part of the idea, putting a fence in front of that place.
Yeah.
Right.
Security.
Right. The only issue with the fence, because I've been looking at the logistics of that, is the gates would have to be super wide, because there's not a lot of room from the building frontage to the road. So, I mean, for smaller trucks, it's not a big deal, but tractor trailers, which are in there a lot this
Yeah.
time of year with salt, it's going to be an issue. So I don't know whether we have an engineer look at it.
Yeah, we'd probably have to have them figure that out with the gates and such, and perhaps have a fencing contractor involved in the design, because they know what's available
Yeah.
to make that happen.
Tom Harvey would definitely like to come over and look at that. He's already offered.
Okay.
Go ahead. Well, we were going to talk about the bidding process, because we know we have that procurement policy we want to adhere to.
None of our, we sent our bids out, I believe, in November,
It was in November for a December
and none of the
final.
bids, the bid process wasn't fulfilled. So we're going to have to redo it.
Bids for?
Bids for materials, bids for paving.
Services.
Services, yes. Contract bids. So we're going to resubmit that, and we're going to have, I think, Andrea, we're sending that out next week, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we're going to send it to the Journal and then have everything in about a week before the next board meeting, so
Right.
it'll allow everybody to digest the information before.
I thought we switched official newspapers.
No, we didn't.
No,
We didn't?
it's the Dixie Journal. They're the
Oh.
only daily print, I think, that's really out there.
Because they're the only daily,
Okay.
we stuck with them, and
All right.
we thought about switching to the northern and southern
Yeah.
Dutchess, but they don't print on them.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
So one of the things that I learned, working with Ed, is that when we went back and researched the bid process, I didn't know this, but the way the bid process is supposed to work is when all those bids come in, and they get put on a spreadsheet, and then the town board gets to analyze them, and they work with the highway superintendent on picking who you want to end up working with. You make all the recommendations, and
Then they approve it.
yeah, and it goes from there, and I don't, that hasn't happened since I've been here, so I think, I'm kind of looking forward to this new process. I didn't even know that was the process, frankly. But then, and then you can use those, whoever you pick there, and, or the county bid, and you'll be ready to go.
Right.
So when that's done, then you'll be closer to doing the 284 and getting your kind of self lined up for the year.
Right.
That's good, that's great. And thank you for sending those plates over. I want you guys to know, we've already sent them the VIN numbers to our insurance company saying, please remove this, and I asked them to let me know what we
Save
saved.
money.
So we'll
Great.
let you know what we saved. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything else you want to cover?
I think that'll be enough for one night.
Thank you very much. Okay, town clerk report?
So the town hall is getting a brand new flag. Former councilor Nick Morris retired the flag because it was in a little bit of disrepair. So he has helped us take care of it properly, and we have a new one that should be here Tuesday.
Yay, that's great.
And then also, tax collector Kathy Wellman asked me to pass along just some information, as she has been busy working on the bills. All of the bills have been mailed out on January 9th, so all residents should be receiving their tax bill if they haven't already by this weekend at the latest. And then on Tuesday afternoon, the link should be prepared for residents and everyone to click on the homepage on the website to see any 2020 tax bill information.
Great, so they can get it one way or the other.
Yeah, you can
Great.
get it by mail, or you can check online, and it even shows, if your payment has been received online as well.
Great, thank you. Public comments on agenda items? No? Okay. We're going to have board reports now. Would Aki Bush, do you mind coming up and joining us? You are our chair of the Conservation Advisory Council. We're glad to have you. You want to sit right there? Sure. Thank you.
So the newly formed, or reformed Unionville CAC first convened in June 2019, and I want to bring you up to speed on some of the initiatives we've taken on and what goals we've set for 2020. So in 2019, Bluebird boxes in Timor Park is one of the things we've been working on. Barbara Butler from the Waterman Bird Club joined us for a meeting and advocated for Bluebird boxes in Timor and told us about design and construction. So one of our members has taken on this project with the thought that building the boxes and checking them could also be a great after-school program. Recycling, one of our members, Pat, has helped compile and distribute a survey to be given to Unionville residents and users of the recycling center to see what programs and services residents would be most interested in, whether it's composting bins or furniture, toys, book exchange. So those surveys have been handed out, and we look forward to getting the feedback and working towards implementation. We also have a Food for Thought program, which invites, we're trying to get more people to come and use Timor Park in our first event on October 13th. was generally determined to be a wild success, we think. Andrew Richards from Shady Knoll Distillery came and gave an informative talk about the cultivation of fruit trees. It was followed by a moonwalk with Jake Gusnell through Timor Park, which was a great event for kids and adults, and then food and drink were provided by local vendors. So it was a nice way to get people into using the park, and we're thinking about what events we want to do next year, but we're beginning to put that together.
This year.
Sorry, 2020, yeah. Clove Valley Weevil release. On July 18th, Chiara Proana from the local PRISM partner, that's PRISM, Partnership for Invasive Species Management, released 1,000 weevils on 2 sites on either side of Clove Valley Road, on a property owned by the Clove Valley Rod and Gun Club. And while this was arranged for the private landowner, we like to think that our phone calls to PRISM and our engagement with Chiara while she was here helped to kind of nudge this project along. And because both the mile-a-minute vine and weevils tend not to observe property lines, we feel that this was an asset both to the park and to the residents of Clove Valley. And that establishing a relationship with PRISM is probably advantageous for the future. And then the other thing in 2019 is we started to work with Climate Smart Communities. Unionville has made the Climate Smart Community Pledge, and there's a checklist, and we were sort of beginning to work our way down that checklist, and Betsy and I have been talking about that. We'll see how we're going to proceed with that, but that's something that's still on our list. So for 2020, we want to continue with all of the above-mentioned, scheduling food for thought, bird boxes, the things I just mentioned. And then what we're really looking forward to doing is initiating work on a natural resources inventory, which compiles and describes important naturally occurring resources, the forest, wetlands, surface and groundwater, farmlands, within a given locality, that is Unionville. And it can also include cultural resources such as historic sites and scenic vistas and recreation areas. So we had a presentation by someone from the DEC, and has offered to help us begin to put this together, and we've been advised to try to establish a partnership with other local townships, or possibly even the Clove Valley Rod and Gun Club. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but anyway,
So if we partnered up, we might get a grant?
Yeah. These putting together these inventories is costly, so it's easier to get the funding to do it if you find a partner. So we're beginning.
And I wanted to ask you, the one thing that when this gentleman came over that I thought it kind of struck me, and George will agree, that the soil and water people are telling us MS4 communities are going to have to start inventorying all of their culverts and things. They're going to have a written list of everything. And this might help with that, because if you get this grant, let's say, and pursue it, and we have to inventory everything, then we could also help us prepare a written list of those things. Kind of get us on the way to that big project that's coming anyway. I know. Okay, that's basically what I have. And obviously, we work at the pleasure of the town board, so we are, of course, interested in anything that you have in mind to refer to us, whether it's counting cottontails or anything else. So I'll let you know when she's coming, okay?
Just keep us posted, all right?
We will.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you, Aki.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, at this point, Councilman Frazier, you've got an update on the Fire Advisory Council?
On Monday, January 6, 2020, members of the Fire Advisory Committee met at 7:30 p.m. at Unionville Firehouse, Burbank, New York, and reviewed the plans for the solar project on Route 55 as submitted by East Light Partners. It was the decision that there was ample access to the site for the fire equipment, and approved the site plan with the provision that before the site goes online, East Light provides a walkthrough and safety training due to the high voltage present should an emergency response be necessary. We also request that any modifications or changes to the original plan be sent to the fire district for approval.
That's great. And Councilman Frazier is the chair of the Fire Advisory council this for 2020, so maybe hearing some more reports from them if other issues come up. At this point, we have some departmental reports. Specifically, we're going to start with Mr. George Cole from the building department. Want to come up and join us?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Let me just briefly go over MS4. I know we have a number of new council people here. Back in 2014, we were designated as an MS4 community based on certain areas of the town for population density. What that means is it's an EPA Clean Water Act that trickled down to the DEC and ultimately trickles down to every town that's in this MS4 program. So the majority of it, what I oversee is the Clean Water Act and ensuring that most job sites, as well as working with the highway superintendent, checking culverts, streams, that kind of thing, are in good repair, and that the job sites are in conformance with all the regulations that DEC has for those construction sites. That being said, we've been in it for the better part of 5 years now, and our lucky lottery ticket came up and we got audited back in, what month was that? August?
Summer? Late summer?
Was it September?
Took a while to finish it.
Anyway,
August or September.
what that means is a representative from the DEC came down, spent the better part of the day with myself, Tom Harvey from CPL, our engineering firm, to go over items that are required that we keep track of, itemize, and document. It was a pretty lengthy audit. I had been through them before in other townships, and it took a while to get the audit results back, which we received December 17th. I'm happy to report to the board that based on discussions with other towns, in addition to that, we have an MS4 committee that's overseen by the Dutchess County Soil and Water. We meet once a month. We have approximately 12 or 14 towns in it. And I know many of these other people that oversee the MS4 programs for these towns. We did very well on the audit, I think. We had 5 outstanding items that were given to us. 4 of those items were given to the DEC within 48 hours of the audit. So and they were very minimal issues that came up. The one issue that did come up was concerning the highway garage. And I discussed this with Ed about what may need to be done with it. There is a little bit of a discrepancy for what we have to do with the highway garage, because I was told by 2 different representatives from the DEC that whether the highway department area would even fall under their jurisdiction because it's outside of these what's called urbanized areas in the town. So I'm going to get verification from that, from the DEC, probably in a couple of months when we have the main DEC representative come down. But for all intents and purposes, the audit came back very well, very good. Many of the other townships were very surprised how well it came back. So we're in good shape with that. I hope it doesn't happen for quite a while. But these audits are meant to, get your discrepancies and what your inefficiencies are, and you work on that, and that's what they're for, and that's what we will be doing. So, as usual, I will keep the board abreast on any other circumstances and on what the highway department will need to be doing down there to ensure that we're in compliance.
And I want to add that we had to spend over $4,000 to support this audit, which was unbudgeted because we didn't know they were going to audit us. And this happens from time to time. It's very expensive. But George did a fabulous job getting us ready. He had to get some other things and go back into some records from the highway department that we didn't have. And Tom Harvey, our engineer, did a great job in helping us compile everything. And we've got complete copies of it in my office and in George's office and with the town clerk. But you just did an outstanding job, and I think made us all look good. And I think the DEC told me, the senior lady, when I spoke with her on the phone, she said, "You're not going to hear from us for 5 years. Let's not know that." So, but thank you very much. That was really, it was a tough task.
Yeah, it went very well.
Sounds like it was a good vote of confidence for George's efforts,
Yeah.
as he's been doing it, not just the audit, but prior to the audit.
Yeah, it's basically documented, and again, Ed's new on the, elected official here, so, there's going to be things over the next few months that we'll go over to ensure that, the highway department's in compliance, as well as what they do on site and out in the field.
Sure.
Great.
The only other thing I'd like to mention is I submitted to Andrea not only the monthly report for December of 2019, but a total report for all of 2019. So you have the progress and the issues and the income and everything that I generated. I typically give an annual report to the board, so you have that as well. Or if you don't have it, you will be getting it.
But I'll look at it.
So other than that, things are still busy. Usually it slows down this time of year, but it seems to keep on chugging here. I was able to get my annual fire safety report out to the state today.
Oh,
Which
congratulations.
is due, I believe it is due the end of February. I wanted to get that off the plate and get done. So that's completed, and that is a requirement. The state is on every building official, at least head of building officials, to submit this annual report for fire safety inspections for commercial buildings. It's kind of a lengthy report that you have to submit. They want to know you're doing it. If you don't provide it, they have the ability to pull your license. So
Wow.
I want to ensure that it's done as well.
Good work getting that
So
done.
that's done as well. Other than that, things are okay.
Well, your department runs really well, too. You had a tough goal this year, and you had a lot of projects, and it looks like, from my count, you're at 108% of your goal for the year, and that goal has to do with all the permits that you're trying to juggle and everything that you're working on to keep the residents happy and moving forward on their projects. And you did even more than we expected you to have to do this year, so nice job.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to, I know every year we go through the budget and try to anticipate how much income is going to come in. It's very difficult, depending on the economy. The economy is very good now, and that's why, it was very, very, very busy. Busiest year I've had in 10 years here last year, so, we did well. And then juggling, keeping all your residents happy with all the issues that come up on a daily basis.
You two are going to have a lot of stories this week.
We already do.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much,
Okay.
George. We appreciate it.
Did you want me to stay for 11.3? Is that necessary, or no?
No,
Okay. With that,
thanks for checking.
Okay, all set.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
You're good. Thanks for staying late. Okay, next up, we have our Recreation Department, and Nina Bartholomew is going to be with us, who is the director of our after-school program and our TGTT. Come on, join us, Nina. Glad to have you.
Hi, so everyone, I put a packet in front of you. This is just a quick overview of what we've been starting.
This is great.
This is new, it's a mock-up, it's just an example, none of that's been approved at all. But
Red me.
so I printed out these little brochures, and when I go to vendor events, anything that I needed to market the park for, this has been super helpful. So it gives the information for the park, and then on the first page here, you see that there's the Timer After School program and the new pricing that we've done, so I've adjusted that. This is just, if you see this one is just an example of some of the programs that we've had at TGTT, which is our program for when there is no school in session during the school year. It stands for
Make it the pasta.
Make it the pasta. Because the kids really loved that when we made pasta, we made some tomato sauce, and they had a great time.
That's cute.
Moving on to things that are happening in sequential order. So this one is coming up this Saturday. This is called our Lunch Cook Session 1, and we're doing cupcake decorating this weekend. It's sold out pretty quickly, so I wanted to get a few more on the board. That's what those other mock-ups are for. On Monday, there is no school in session, so we are having a TGTT for Martin Luther King Day. And then
So what is that? Did I get one of those?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, here it is.
That's really clever.
Very nice.
Thank you. And then monthly, we're going to do these Parents' Night Out events. I know that it is difficult to get out with children, so drop them on by. So on January 25th, we have them from 6 to 9. We have sibling discounts available, and we do pizza and a movie, and so we encourage the kids to come with, pajamas, a pillow, just come and hang out. Friendship Day, again, this is one that has not been approved, but this is on February 14th and the 17th. There's no school, so we're having a TGTT day on that Friday, which is the 14th, also Valentine's Day, so that's important. Then on that weekend, the 15th, we are having another Parents' Night Out.
Very good.
So hopefully that one goes well, considering it is the day after Valentine's Day, also my birthday.
Got to work on your birthday then.
Thank you. And these last two are two of these, just, like I said, they're just mock-ups, nothing's been set in stone, but since the first one went over so well, I thought we could do another one. I thought chocolate for this next one coming up, and then bread would be fun to make for the kids. Yep, I just need that schedule of events, let's see if you don't mind, the one that on Jen.
Yes. Now, let me just, before we go there, let me just say, okay, first of all, we're always mindful of trying to take care of our residents and then bring in revenue, taking care, giving our residents typically get a discount and people from the outside come. And I think that the reason that's so important to us is because that revenue that we bring in helps keep our taxes down. And it keeps our residents happy because they have programs that they've asked for their kids or for adults. So the after-school program and the TGTT program is the second largest program that we have. It's very important to us, and it's important to taxpayers, whether they know it or not. And you're doing a wonderful job coming up with lots of new ideas to bring families and kids in. The board should know that if there aren't enough registrants for these programs, they get pulled.
They do.
So we're not just out there throwing things at the wall and then so that's good. And also all of these adorable flyers that you make.
Very nice.
We have our weekly communication committee, and everybody that creates flyers for their respective programs comes in front of our communication committee, which is 5 or 6 of us that sit in there. Our town clerk is also one of them. And then we critique them. So you have to have a thick skin because everybody might say, oh, I hate the color, you misspelled a word, fix it. There's nothing in here that needs board approval, but it's mostly aesthetic. So that goes through the communication committee, and then tell everybody how you market these things so people know about them. Where can they
So
find
you can
these?
find our information on Facebook and Instagram, and we also send out flyers monthly, almost weekly, to the to 3 schools, Knox on Road, Vale Farm Elementary, and Beekman. I would love to get a further reach, but so far the draw, I would love to get more kids involved, so that's the goal, to get more people.
Yeah, and we tried remember we have that Millbrook School District issue where they wanted to come to the TGT tour after school program,
Right, yeah,
but
school
the
program.
bus and the superintendent was all for it, but the bus can't leave the district. So they can drop them off at the fire station, and then but we don't have a bus to go pick them up, and so it's not as convenient for parents, but it's
Yes,
another idea.
but we do get a lot of Millbrook students and families participating in the other programs like TGTT and Parents Night Out. They come to everything else, so I definitely want to keep Millbrook families and students informed on all the programs that we're doing here.
Yeah, I'm going to pass
And
this
then-
out. Steve, will you pass one of those down to Nina?
And then
Pass this down to Ed. Thank you.
All of these events are on the calendar. The draft, I believe, it's been approved, no?
Yeah, the town board is familiar with all these.
Yeah.
It's just,
Okay, so the next one coming up, that's a big event, 2 are the egg stuffing party and egg hunts for all. That one is specifically for, children maybe with sensory or tactile issues. And then, of course, shredding day, Timer Equestrian Center Day. This is going to be posted on the website, correct?
I believe
Or is it
that
just on
in the communication meeting we talked about, it's going to be on the town website, and then Stephanie will send it out, post it on the recreation website, and then that'll be our event calendar for the year.
How about the TV channel?
Andrea will put it on there as well.
Okay.
All of the ways that we communicate, that's our yearly event list, so that will be put on everything.
Great.
And when you all saw this list, a lot of these dates are standard dates, so
Yeah.
now we've got a flyer to support it, and that will be distributed.
Wonderful. Very nice.
Some good things coming, and your stuff is wonderful, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good luck with after school. That program's been growing ever since Nina arrived, so we're very, very happy.
Doubled enrollment this year.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, Jake Gosnell is our park manager, as everybody knows, and he had that terrible flu this morning, so he's not here. So he asked me to give you a couple of updates. One of them is that the windows are probably in, the dormers that you might not know, but we had ordered dormers some time ago. They're in, they came in, the windows themselves came in to go to number 11, the house, because they were rotting, and I think the previous residents had broken all the glass, and he had paper, plastic
Yeah, which allowed
painters
water
type
to get in,
cover,
yeah.
over the windows that were broken, and so the town board had voted on getting those windows replaced quickly so that it wouldn't degrade the attic anymore and the wood, and I think that job was completed. Jake said that he's looking very much towards working closely with the highway superintendent. He already, even though he rejected that stuff that you had out there that you might want to give there, he was happy to be working closely with you, and I think that that's going to be a great partnership. We set up a monthly meeting between highway, the building department, and parks, and we're just kind of, because we've got a lot of projects this year, we want to keep things moving forward, and keeping that group in constant communication is going to help that. So anyway, Jake's very much looking to that, and everything else is in the parks going smoothly. They removed all the Christmas lights, as everybody saw, the holiday lights. Now it's very dark out there, we miss them. But he's got, I think it's pretty quiet this week, and over the winter they're doing a lot of cleanup. We've moved some offices and that sort of thing. Now, as far as old business goes, just so that the residents know, our solar development team had to submit a very expensive test. I think it's at least $40,000 or $50,000 to submit a Caesar test to fill out everything you have to for Central Hudson. And we were waiting for the results of that test, because if that test, the Central Hudson Caesar test, had come back saying that all the lines had to be redone because they couldn't support the amount of energy our solar development was going to put on it, it would have cost close to $1 million, and we would not have had our solar development project. But the good news is that in December, we learned that the results were very good, and our solar development is 100% moving forward.
Great.
So that is fantastic. So we have a couple of other things. Councilman Frazier mentioned one, the fire advisory committee's looked and approved. Now we have a decommissioning plan that we're going to get signed. And then Mr. Cole will help them get a building permit, and then we'll be on the way as soon as they tell us they're ready. So that is outstanding news. And I do want to mention for residents that there will be subscriptions to get discounts from this, like a community program or an aggregate program. There'll be 400 or 500 memberships that we don't know who's going to be administering that, but the developers will let us know soon, and residents can all sign up for that program, learn the details. If you like it, you'll get a 10% discount on your Central Hudson bills as well. So stay tuned for that, it's coming. Next up, Furnace Pond Dam. Furnace Pond Dam and our quest to become very responsible and good dam owners is still moving forward. I don't have any details more than what we had before, other than we're turning in the maintenance plan. The engineers are assessing what it's going to cost to fix it up, so it'll last another 100 years, and so stay tuned. But we are still moving, and the engineers are working. They're setting up for an engineering analysis that was in this year's budget, and as soon as they start on that, I'll let everybody know. But don't forget about that. That's one open issue on our future expense line. In this packet here, I wanted to talk to the board. I wanted us to have a discussion to try to prioritize this list that we've looked at in our work session before. And I realized, looking over this list, I thought maybe, if we could take a minute, the one thing that I realize is not on here, that we've got the number 11, the Historical Society Museum could become a library renovation. That is on here, and that would be funded by donations, according to the people that requested it and came to talk to me. But one of the things that we don't have on here, which wouldn't be a big expense, that is a upgrade of the playground in
Godfrey Park?
Godfrey Park. And there were residents there who told us that it's really an important thing, and I think we can get a grant for that.
Well, we have that special fund that would be available for that as well.
Playground. Well, if I was talking to Jake about it, and I thought maybe.
I mean, a grant is better, but we do have some funds there that are dedicated for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. They're in the. We're not sure. Remember, they got all thrown into one bucket. So it doesn't matter if we want to spend the money on it. We can spend the money on it because we can allocate it to that fund. But it hasn't been separated or segregated in 4 years, so we'll just have to...
Well, I think we need to do that because I think that's required by state law.
It may have been, but when Mr. Cortine put it all in one bucket, nobody said anything, and didn't come up in the audit or anything, and it hasn't changed. We had difficulty trying to get data to support anything. It doesn't really matter, though, at this point. I think what matters is that it's on the list, and what I was going to suggest before we get to the point where we're worried about how to pay for that, because I think Steve's point is that a grant is better, and I thought maybe we'd go for the grant first, and then we'd go to Plan B.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk through these a little bit and see if maybe there's a project on here that each town board member might look at as being a pet project of theirs that you could work with me on. Because we'd have to manage, I could do the inside day-to-day management, but it could be, you could be the primary contact with me on it. And I know that some of you have different interests, and that maybe, and again, we're going to have to bring this, we're going to have to do the bidding, and we're going to have a lot of work for each one of these. But I think if we had if you have one on here that's a particular interest to you, I think it would be really helpful to put you down as
Well, I've been involved with the
go-to
salt
person.
shed quite a long time now, so I would like to continue on that one.
Okay.
Now, you know about my interest in air conditioning.
And the cement bridge. Yes, we know you're interested in air conditioning.
Especially in the summer.
Steve is down for the air conditioning condensers. So we'll be talking about that. What about the cement bridge, Steve?
I can work on that.
I mean, if Ed Kading also has a lot of information about these things.
I can always
Maybe
help with
our
that, too.
consult, we can consult with you, okay?
Where is it?
Right down here in
The one in the
Time Warner.
park.
First things first.
What are we talking about? Don't let me confuse you.
That happened a while ago.
Now, like the long barn, that's really, replacing all 10 garage doors, that's a Jake, that's a Jake project. That's pretty straightforward. The tennis court, everybody that works in recreation down there would like to see that done in conjunction with the house, because before or after, because it's such an eyesore the way it is, and also because it can be striped to use, and we can actually set it up where we charge adults to go in there if they'll come, but the kids will use it, and they feel like they'll get a lot of use out of it for other things.
How many courts are there?
Two. They're about almost 40 years old now.
I can imagine what shape they're in.
Oh, they were not maintained, so they're not,
I remember seeing them.
What's the surface?
Well, it's
Is it
Some form
asphalt
of
or?
It's all
blacktop,
asphalt.
some form of asphalt black.
which has cracked in all the corners, and, it's really kind of messed up. They could have a few years ago put that, that special tape the tennis courts put on there to affix, and then they cover it up again. I don't know what that technically is called, but that wasn't done, and now it's all uneven. It's too late. But that's a pretty straightforward one, too. It's above, we would, that was pretty easy. You can work with me on that one, because you have some connections, and I have some connections. I'll put you down for there, but that's an easy one. And Jake will probably, more than likely, handle most of it, so that's an easy one.
I know a lot of those tennis court people. So.
The Furnace Pond Dam, I'm going to say all hands on deck for that one.
Yeah, that's such a big one.
That's a team effort.
Yeah.
We're going to work on that as a team, because I'll be getting the information from them at some point. We'll all have to read it and discuss it. So team effort on that one. Now, the other one that I'm very, very interested in is our house, the 11 Timeware Park Road. The idea about that house, especially given what the county tourism was, to change it from long-term rentals to short-term rentals, so that we can collect more revenue. And according to Jake, because he has staff working in the park on Sundays, then the short-term rentals would be fine. Either it would be wrapped into our facility rentals, like what Stephanie already does, where we could use it for an extra place for facility rentals. And if we do any overnights on the second floor, if we want to do that instead of renting it out to a family, just do short terms. It's a higher revenue producer according to the county, as long as you have staff here to take care of it.
Have we done a business plan to that effect?
I did some pro formas, that's it.
Some what?
I did some preliminary work on what the numbers might look like, depending on various scenarios, given first floor rentals for weddings and that sort of thing, and second floor overnights. but it's hard to be honest about them. You can make a lot of assumptions, but to be really honest about them, we kind of have to know, do we all agree with the short-term rental program as opposed to
Well,
renting
that's
out
why
to a
I
family?
asked about a business plan. I mean, that's the first thing I'd like to see.
Well, that's, yes, you can see that. But imagine that in the world of business, everything that's a short-term rental makes more money than a long-term rental, if the rentals are managed more.
If they're run properly, yes.
If they're run properly, which I have no doubt that we wouldn't do that. But let's just say that we were making $24,000 on it a year, and we want to make 24, 25 on up from there. So given that, either that or you rent the house out to a family and let it, or multiple families, over 20 years the place was rented without changing much. And when you rent out to families over a long period of time, the house just kind of gets worse and worse. So the idea of a short-term rental is get higher rental more frequently and then have it cleaned and maintained more often because people are in and out of there. So thoughts? I'm just trying to get a project done. I'm not married to one or the other.
Who's going to, I mean, you're talking about operating a business. And,
What we do already with our facility rentals.
okay, well, let me finish my thought. You're talking about operating a business.
Yep.
And any business puts money at risk as an investment for their return. And in this case, we're talking about taxpayer dollars. I want to be awful certain that that money is going to be returned. And who is going to be running the business? These are all things that I want to see on paper before I can say that I can support something like that.
Well, right now, we're not saying whether we support it or not. Right now, we're just discussing what people's thoughts are, and that's a valid point. We can mark that down. But what other thoughts do people have, short-term versus long-term, or how do you feel about that? That's really
Well, I can say I've
a broader
owned
discussion.
property that has been a part of both, and we certainly made a lot more money short-term, but it's a lot more work. So the person who manages that property on the short-term side is really going to have to be a good manager.
Yeah, be busy.
My inclination-
Able to respond and turn it over, because you're constantly turning it over. So you just
Right.
have to make sure that you have a system in place where
That's
you could
like the
turn-
bedroom part.
Well, whatever, I mean, if you're
Yeah.
constantly turning something over, it's going to take
Yeah.
somebody to be
A lot of attention
on
to
top of
maintain it.
and running it.
And
So you just
and
have-
keep customers happy.
That's just the one comment I would say, is that I think the revenue will be there, more revenue, but, you have to really
You got to work for it.
work for it.
Right.
My
Good point.
inclination would be, if that's the direction we want to go, that we lease the property to a commercial venture to outdo the business end of it. And let them make the investment and take the risk, and we collect rent for the facility.
If they make the investment in it, they're not going to want to give us the rent.
They're going to have to give us something, it's our property. And I'm sure something could be worked out in that respect where we're not taking risk with taxpayer money.
Well, I guess I don't understand what risk we're talking about. We have the house, we have to maintain the
Well,
house.
you're looking at putting $400,000 into it.
Yeah, that's a guess. We have to talk to some experts about it, but to renovate that house, it has to be renovated regardless. It has to be fixed up. There's some issues with the house. So it certainly is a sieve in regards to utilities and stuff like that. So the town owns the house. It was left, those two houses were left to the town to provide revenue according to what the covenants say for the town. So the town has to maintain those houses and keep them in good shape. So that's what it says. So on the covenant, on the deed. So if that's the case, we're going to be maintaining those houses. I think that number depends on the level at which we want to maintain them. That's all. That's a subjective thing, Steve.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So this discussion was really about anybody, so I guess it sounds like we'll put together the ideas of what might be feasible on both ends, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
It sounds like we need either some experts to come in to talk about the various ideas and,
Harder numbers.
yeah, so people get a better feel for what the thing might look like. kind
And
of.
the amount of personnel that would be required to run these businesses.
Right.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think we have it in place now.
I agree, yeah. We have very limited staff on weekends.
You know, I've run a business. It's very time intensive. I have no interest in running another business, especially when I'm not taking the profits home.
Yeah.
And this here concerns me quite a bit.
There would certainly be an expense to it.
Exactly. There's always operating expenses, and that's all the stuff that has to show on a business plan to show that it has a chance of working. You know, and again, that's a risk.
So what are you envisioning would be an alternative?
Well, like I said, if this is something that we agree to do, then I think we should allow a commercial venture to operate that business within our building. And we take either a percentage of the gross as our part of it, or we decide on a fair amount for him to rent the facility.
Do you know anybody that might be interested in doing that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Do you know anybody who would be interested in doing what you're suggesting?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You do? Well, then that's part of your presentation.
Yeah, well, I'm not ready to do that yet, I just wanted to get a feel for where everybody was. We're not prepared, I just thought it would be helpful to hear what people were interested in. I think we're all in pretty much, we've talked before about not renting it out so that kids are running around the park at midnight, young kids running around alone in a park, because that was pretty rough on the park before. So I think if we can turn it into a different type of a venue, maybe that would save us the problems that occurred before. So anyway, what I think we need to do is show a little bit more of another vision and then kind of share it and then let people react to it. But it's easier to react to something when you see it in black and white in front of you. So let's do that for next time.
All right.
All right?
Yeah.
All right, that helps us. And if you do hear of anybody interested in doing what Steve's describing, we'd obviously like to talk to them as well. Next up then, workers' compensation. For those of you who don't know, that we've got out of the Dutchess County Workers' Compensation Plan at the end of 2019 because they came to us in August and said, oh, by the way, you've been in the plan for 20 years, but your premium's going up 379% this year. They weren't managing the plan well. So they were offering us a premium coming up of, I think it was $75,000, surprised us. So we went and got other quotes, and we paid around $40,000, a little bit over 40 with Comp Alliance, and that's 2 years in a row. So we've saved that money from that premium that they were going to give us, and that number probably would have been the same 2 years in a row. So we've saved some money already moving, but we do have to pay some sort of liability to get out. They've asked us to sit down and talk to them, and we're going to do that January, February.
Mm-hmm. Good.
The town event calendar under new business, that's been, they're going to distribute that, as Nina mentioned, so I
Yes.
think we're good there for just the event calendar. We're not ready to discuss the master fee schedule yet. I've gotten some comments back from some of the departments, but not all of them. So when they make their recommendations, we'll bring that to the board and we can all look at it. Under new business here, this is in regards to the Unionville Fire Department. They came to the town and completed an application to appear before the zoning board so that they could get a permit for a sign they are interested in putting on Route 82. George had met with them and told them they needed to get a variance, so that's why they came. And I wanted to, and I think the town board's familiar with the sign, but what we want to do, since that's another taxpayer-supported entity, what we wanted to do is make a motion that we allow the Unionville Fire Department to not pay any permit fees as it applies to, submitting applications to the town, because again, that just comes away from taxpayers.
So I'll make that motion. Second.
Great. All in
Is this the
favor?
sign
I'll
that's up?
recluse myself on that vote.
Yes, I forgot to ask. Thank you for bringing that up. You're a commissioner of the fire department, and this was their
Is this the one?
application.
Yeah.
So,
It's up.
all in favor of letting the fire department avoid application fees with the town? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, that motion carries. I think we saved them $150, $200. But still. They will pay, however, any consultant fees that the town incurs, because we don't like to have the taxpayers pay for that. The last time the town board was together, we had a discussion with our park manager about a draft here. This is something to look at, Steve. This is one of the things. This is just, let's kind of just walk through this just because this will show us a little bit about what we've been approached by a group that is interested in using 2 Timor Park Road as a school. And their proposal is to pay us $2,000 a month plus utilities. And they would have about 20 kids. They would just be here 9 to 5. I think they're just day students. They put on here 20 to 40 day students. During the school year, it's a soccer school, so about 3 months out of the year, these kids go to Spain. And one of the upgrades is they want to use the bathrooms over in the park after they practice. And they're estimating that would be about $10,000 to partially winterize those shower facilities.
Whose number is that, theirs or Jake's?
That's theirs.
No.
But all of this is just from their walkthrough with Jake. And maybe Jake's not here to ask, but Jake may have said that he's looked at it before and this would have cost, because they walked through together.
And that 10,000 they're going to pay?
This is what we discussed at the last meeting,
Yes,
correct?
yes. He just put something as a draft in writing, just to give us something to focus on. Now, what we can do is, you can absorb all this, and we can talk about it next time. And then we can, I think, you may want to read this proposal and then do some homework on your own, and then we'll be ready to talk about it next time, because this just arrived today, but I wanted to make sure you got it.
If he's looking to be in there at March 15th, then we need to move on this pretty quickly.
Yeah, pretty fast.
So, yeah, I think at the next meeting, we should be prepared to really talk in depth about it.
Yeah, because they had to winterize the showers by
Right.
March 15th.
We gotta wait till the following meeting then to approve it for them.
Oh, the partially winterized, that would be done probably after, because they're worried about next winter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
they're worried
right.
about this winter.
Okay.
That's for next year. I think they want to be in mid-March.
Maybe so, I think they'd want to make some, improvements to the house itself for their use, right? But I think it would behoove us to move on this quickly.
We can also schedule a special meeting after everybody's had a chance to read this. The one thing about it is that they want to be able to dominate our soccer field that's up behind the park.
Yeah.
And we also rent that out to other groups, and it turns out the timing would work. They correlate perfectly. One rents it in later, one would want it during the day. This is only a 9 to 5 rental where they'd like to have sole control of it, which nobody else has ever come looking for it during the day. So, that's actually good for the park too. If we want to they want to enhance the playing season, then, by adding a turf to it, so that it's easier to maintain and they can play much longer, which would be something that you might call it a positive.
I question whether that top bullet there is going to be legal.
Well, that's part of what we're going to be talking about, and I want
I'd like to hear an opinion.
our attorney's got to look into it while we absorb all this.
Yeah, that's critical.
So draft just got here today. We haven't had any time to look at it, but since it's rental for our house, and it sounds like a 9 to 5 thing with no kids running around at night in the park, that's a really great thing. So it could be good, but we have to look at all the details and get. So we're going to be doing some emailing about this and talking to our attorney about it, and then we'll be ready to discuss it full in front of the public when we have all the rest of the numbers, okay? And if we need to, I'm going to talk to these people, if we need to call a special meeting, then we can do that. I'm sure everybody would be game.
Yeah.
All right, so study that. On behalf of Stephanie, I have here a proposal for facility rental, another one that is interesting. Do you remember the Gaelic Irish festival we were talking about? Here, Steve, this is, remember... So this is just for one day. They want to rent the park for one day, and this was a preliminary quote that they were given to consider. And what we did on this particular quote, Kieran Mitchell is a resident, so he came in looking for it. So we gave him the resident rates, And what we did, if you go down the list, which was a little bit different, we don't know how large or small it's going to be. We changed the rate on the constables a little bit. And we said that they might have to have 3 constables based on the number of people. We know it's over 200. We don't know if it's 800, 300, we don't know. We added the bandstand, we added the use of the concession stand exterior, because they're actually going to ask Tom Farmer and the Time Warner Scholarship Fund to cook food and everything for them. But it's a Gaelic festival, so they're going to be down there playing Gaelic football on the fields down here. They're going to have Irish dancers, they're going to have music, and they're going to 2 bands, and I think they're going to have Guinness is going to be one of the sponsors, so they're going to have to get a permit. And this is what we came up with that day based on that. We also told them that they would have to have professional traffic control if for some reason they were lucky enough. I don't know if on their first year, if they like it, they'd like to do it every year. But
Well, if they're getting constables, why would they also need traffic control people?
well, because I think that in our discussions as a group, we felt that without proper traffic control, people run all over Jake's.
No, I don't disagree about the traffic
that.
control. I wonder why we need our constables there if they're going to hire.
Well, because the constables are going to walk around and make sure everything's being kept in good order, because none of our staff will be there.
Okay, so constables will not be involved with traffic.
Constables won't have to do traffic.
Okay, all right.
They can instruct the traffic folks.
Yeah.
They can say, no more over there. Like, we have to give them instructions. We don't want them parking here or there, and then they're going to make sure
Yeah.
that happens. But we told these folks they needed to bring their own professionals. And they've gotten this. They seem to react really favorably to it. And the date is May 30th. So when they come back and they've signed it and said they're ready to move forward, we vote on it, but that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
And really, I think the next thing is to go through these resolutions, one of which is another blood drive for Hannah Bacher.
Well, listen, before we get off of this thing here,
Yeah.
I have some concern about the damage deposit. If they're utilizing the whole park, I think that number should be higher.
What is it, 250?
Yeah.
You're
I think
right.
that's
That
on-
is
There's 800 people
minimal.
then, yeah.
That's on our...
They could do that with one car.
Yeah, exactly.
Now...
And there's going to be alcohol.
Stephanie's not here, but that's the same number that we
Yeah.
gave to the Millbrook School last year when they had 400
Worked in an
people.
Irish bar for a long time.
And he's coming. That's the same number that they used, that's our approved number, and that's what they used with the Millbrook School
I
last
think
year.
for this event, you might want to make an adjustment.
I agree.
So what number do you want?
5,000.
Like a good escrow collector, aren't you?
Let's make them post a bond for 5.
Let's see. Well, we can just double it. They'll get it back.
At least double it.
I mean, they'll get it back, so it...
Not that they would be
The number is
not
really
liable
low.
if it was more than that,
Right.
if something happened, but
Trying to chase it,
Yeah.
that's another thing.
hard to chase it.
I think maybe Jake should have some input on this.
Well, he did already, that was his
Yeah.
input. I mean, this is a group effort, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the representatives are quite responsible. I mean, there's 2 of them. One's a resident, the other one works at a bank as an asset manager. So, I mean, they're really upstanding people, but I don't think they would mind. So why don't we double it?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, 500.
And they're going to be responsible for everything anyway, and we have to get insurance coverage and stuff from
Yeah,
them.
that's true.
So we'll have an insurance coverage from them, that's required. I think we'll be protected, but 500 it may start out small, and it may seem like a large number to them, but it could get bigger.
Listen, if it goes well, they get that money back.
Exactly,
It's just, it's
yeah.
protecting us,
Yeah.
is all that's doing,
Yeah.
so.
I don't think they'll mind. Okay,
All right.
so.
Are we
let's-
voting on this tonight?
No, I just want to give you a heads up, because they're going to, if they sign it, send it back to us, that means that they want it on those terms.
Oh, so they're not definite yet themselves? Okay.
No, they're not definite yet, but I think what they're trying to do is figure out who's going to sponsor it, and how they're going to pay for stuff.
I got it.
You
Okay.
know how it is, it's like planning
Yeah.
Oktoberfest.
All right.
So, all right, let's go to resolutions 20-18.
But what about the blood drive? Do we have to vote on that?
Oh, I was out of order, so I figured I'd start over. Let me start with
Okay.
the first one, which is 2018.
Okay.
This is a straightforward one because of a mistake that I made carrying over numbers. So I'm going to read it, and I'm going to introduce this resolution. 2018 resolution correcting Resolution 20-10, setting salaries for elected officials. I just carried over the wrong number. Be it resolved that Resolution 2010 from January 2, 2020 organization meeting overstated the salary of the town clerk by $1,368. This mistake occurred when the 3% raises were taken away from elected officials during the budget process and the number was carried over incorrectly. Therefore, be it resolved that the correction will be made in the January 2nd minutes as required by law, and it is acknowledged that the total salary of the town clerk for 2020 is $47,077. So,
I will second that resolution.
Thank you very much. Can I have a roll call vote?
Supervisor Motz?
Aye.
Councilman Walsh?
Aye.
Councilman Frazier?
Aye.
Councilman Derlin?
Aye.
Councilman McGivney?
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 2018 passes. Thank you very much. Again, this is to keep our records perfect for auditors in the future. The budget was submitted correctly, by the way, so we don't have any issues. Resolution 2019, Councilman Frazier, do you want to read that one?
Yeah, be it resolved that the Gerard Bacher family has requested to utilize the Senior Center in Timewell Park for a second blood drive for Hannah Bacher. Be it further resolved that the blood drive will be sponsored by the New York Blood Center, the same sponsor of the first successful blood drive. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville does hereby waive the $275 rental fee for the Bacher family for the blood drive to be held on February 16th, 2020, which was today.
No, a month from now.
Oh, February, okay, yep.
A month from today.
I'll second that. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Motz?
Aye.
Councilman Walsh?
Aye.
Councilman Frazier?
Aye.
Councilman Derlin?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, Resolution 2020, Councilman Welch, want to read that one?
Sure.
Here, sorry.
Yeah, I thought I had it. Okay. Resolution 2020, permitting the town supervisor to settle the workers' compensation liability with Dutchess County. Be it resolved that the town of Unionville exited the Dutchess County Workmen's Compensation Plan on 12/31/19 because the proposed premium fees were increased by 379% due to poor plan management. Be it further resolved that the Dutchess County has requested that the town of Unionville meet and negotiate a final payment of outstanding liabilities. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of Unionville does hereby instruct the town supervisor and an attorney to negotiate on behalf of the town to get closure on this outstanding liability in early 2020.
With one correction, it's 12/31/18.
I was going to say that, that's why
I thought you said 18 in my
I was
mind.
hesitating, because I saw it was 18, and it should, it was
Yeah.
19, should have been 18. Okay.
May I have a second?
I'd like to make an amendment to the resolution. I'd like to delete the line following 379%, please.
Well, that's what we had in our original resolution to,
Well, I'm asking that it be amended.
I don't know how to do that. We've already read it. Do we have to vote on this and then go back and vote on an amendment?
No.
Well, it's been voted on, I mean, it's been
It's already been introduced,
introduced and seconded.
so,
Well, I wasn't given an opportunity to discuss my feelings on this.
Okay, go ahead.
I just did. I feel that line should not be part of the resolution.
well, that's an indication of why it was so...
Well, it increased 379%. That's reason enough to do what we're doing.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Listen, I put a proposal out
Okay,
there.
we're going to
This needs a
vote
second,
on
and-
Resolution 2020. We're going to take a roll call vote, and then we're going to have a second vote. You can put forth a motion, and we can vote.
Well, it's already been accepted at that point.
Yeah. Steve,
It's a follow-up
Steve needs a
resolution.
second to his correction on the
He's gotta
resolution.
get- Yeah,
Is there a second to his proposal to remove that part?
I'll second it.
Okay.
all in favor.
Of what? Of voting
Of the
on...
amendment.
Of the amendment.
I'm in favor, yeah, aye.
Okay, we need a roll call vote
Yeah.
for the amendment part first.
This is just for the amendment. Supervisor Motz?
This is just for the amendment.
It's for
Yes.
the amendment.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Councilman Welsh,
No.
Councilman Derland,
Yes.
Councilman McGivney,
Yes.
Councilman Frazier.
Yes.
Okay, now you have to have a roll call vote for the revised resolution.
As amended.
Yeah, as amended. It's good. Okay.
Roll call vote. Supervisor,
Sure.
did you say Supervisor Marsh? Or do you want to read it?
Well, I'll reread the first part without that, with the revised resolution. Resolution 2020, permitting the town supervisor to settle workman's compensation liability with Dutchess County. Be it resolved that the town of Unionville exited the Dutchess County Workman's Compensation Plan on 12/31/18 because the proposed premium fees were increased
Was it the only reason?
By 379%.
by 379%. I thought you wanted 300.
No, I said the words following 379%.
Okay. All right. So increased by 379%, period.
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Mott,
Aye.
Councilman Welsh.
Aye.
Councilman Derland.
Aye.
Councilman Frazier.
Aye.
Councilman McGivney.
Aye.
Okay, revised motion. Resolution
Okay,
carries.
this motion, 2020 carries, as revised. Okay, at this point, just need a motion to pay all the bills.
What about 2021?
No. Which is...
Resolution authorizing use of unrestricted fund balance
Yeah,
for
but
payment
oh,
of
here
legal
it is.
fees.
Okay, sorry. Resolution 2021. Councilman Derlin, you want to read that one?
Sure. Resolution authorizing use of unrestricted fund balance for payment of legal fees, whereas the town of Unionville has incurred unbudgeted legal fees as a result of having to respond to the town of Beekman's Article 78 in relation to the cell tower proposal in Time Warner Park. Be it resolved that since the legal fees were unbudgeted, it is appropriate to pay those fees from the town's unrestricted fund balance. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of Unionville does hereby authorize the town supervisor to pay all fees related to the Article 78 from the town's fund balance after getting town board signatures on all vouchers.
Thank you for introducing that. Do I have a second? Roll call vote.
Supervisor Mott.
Aye.
Councilman Derland.
Aye.
Councilman Frazier.
Aye.
Councilman McGivney.
Aye.
Councilman Welsh.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution 2021 passes. We will take care of that.
All right.
Can I have a motion to approve budget, well, we don't have any, but pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comment on town issues. No? All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
One last thing.
I don't have a gavel, but...
You have here next scheduled meetings, February 6th and February 29th. February 29th.
That's,
It's just 20th. It's the 20th is the next.
I was gonna
it's the
say.
20th, yeah.
Okay.
February
This
20th.
29th is a Saturday, okay.
27? I don't have my phone.
No, that's the fourth Thursday, I think.
It's third Thursday. Do you have a calendar with you?
It would be the 20th, it would be 14 added to 6.
Yeah.
Would be the 20th.
Yeah, the 27th is the following one.
Oh, so it's the
Yeah,
20th.
you are right.
Yeah.
Third Thursday.
Third Thursday.
Okay, I just want to clarify that for anybody.
Well, we'll clean it up before we put it on the web. Okay.
Very
This
good.
meeting is over. Thank you very much.